What up guys, let's continue with what I promised. Mizuki and Stellar Swirl. I'm covering both topics together because... No, wait, actually it's 3 topics. The Cryo Traveler with Stellar Swirl. I will quickly explain how they work so we can focus mostly on Stellar Swirl reaction. I stream on Tuesday, Thursdays and Saturday on Kick. And if you find this video useful, please consider to subscribe to my channel. Let's pick up exactly where we left off in the last video. If you're playing Traveler with Stellar Swirl, they are not a main DPS. The passive talents that makes their normal attack deal cryo damage and scale with their attack only applies to a Stellar Conduct Traveler. So their role here will be a sub DPS. Their elemental skill will deal cryo damage twice every 3 seconds for 12 seconds. And their elemental burst will do cryostellar damage, right, because it have its own scaling. And that's pretty much the only difference compared to Stellar Conduct Traveler. Their base DPS is very different though. The set they can use is the new Heart of the Furnace, one of the new sets from the 7.0, or Noblesse Oblige, or Tenacity of the Millelith. You will want Attack Incense and Goblet with a crit circlet, because yes, almost 90% of their damage is stellar damage. The substat priority is the same: crit, attack, and elemental mastery, and remember that energy recharge requirements vary depending on the team. For Stellar Swirl, I do estimate around 155% if you're using cryo characters like Adetta, Scrolls, and Mizuki. If you're using Diona instead of Adetta, it can go as high as 170%. No more than that. And just to update you on Stellar Conduct Traveler, it's up to around 160% when paired with Yae, Adetta, and Alosha. So it's roughly around there for both strategy, but it can be even lowered if you funnel the other character's particle into the Traveler. So yeah, maybe 130, 135. As for how to play the Traveler in this case, since they're using Stellar Swirl, cast their elemental skill and leave the field. Then you use your main DPS, whether it's Mizuki or Zandrone, does their thing, and once they're done, you swap back to the Traveler and cast the elemental burst, then do 1 charge attack and repeat the rotation. Yeah, sub DPS characters generally don't spend much time on field. So what changed for Mizuki? Mizuki is still playing pretty much the same way. She comes on field, use her burst, then use her skill and stay on field for around 10 seconds. Then she leaves the field. However, the set you use now is different. Scarlet Proof, the other new artifact for the 7.0. For Mizuki, you want Elemental Mastery Sands and Goblet with crit circlet. You can run triple Elemental Mastery, but it won't be optimal. It's slightly weaker. So at Constellation 0, C0, the only difference in Mizuki kits is that her passive talents, which occasionally deals a powerful Anemo hit, will now also deals an additional Anemo hit equals to 1000% of her elemental mastery, considered a Stellar Swirl damage. So now, in addition to her abilities, she deals 2 extra instances of damage, 1 normal and 1 stellar, roughly every 3 seconds, bringing her base DPS to 18.2k. It's nothing crazy, but it's definitely not comparable to what it was before. Anyways, I think that's enough for these 2 characters. Let's understand how Stellar Swirl actually works. If there's someone on the teams who enable Stellar Swirl, such as Zandrone, Adetta, or Cryo Traveler, then every Anemo swirl that occurs will become Stellar Swirl. The Stellar Swirl is calculated using the elemental mastery, stellar damage bonus, and crit stats of the characters applying cryo to the enemy along with the Anemo character, and that's when the Stellar Swirl occurs. It's a formula very similar to Lunar Charge or Lunar Crystallize, where every character has a contribution, with the two strongest contributors providing most of the damage to that swirl. So in the end, it's basically an enhanced swirl, right? Now, at the same time, whenever a Stellar Swirl occurs, it creates a vortex that stays on the field for up to 3 seconds. Its damage depends on the same stats as the Stellar Swirl: the character's elemental mastery, stellar, damage bonus, and crit. But it also depends on how many Stellar Swirls occurs during that time, because that can multiply the damage it deals. Then it explodes, deals AoE stellar cryo damage, and repeat. I won't make this any more complicated, but this vortex also uses the same contribution system as Lunar Charge and Lunar Crystallize. That's why it can be a little complicated, but in practice it's basically just a lot of AoE damage. Let me show you a team: Mizuki, Adetta, Cryo Traveler, and Sucrose. Against one enemy, this team gives us 95.1k DPS when counting the swirls and the vortices. This is indeed way below pretty much everything we've seen in these 7.0 leaks. However, Stellar Swirl is mostly AoE damage, and it seems to be a reaction designed around fighting multiple enemies rather than a single target scenario. Its DPS doubles and then increase a little more against 2 enemies, because more enemies mean a higher frequency of vortices. But don't get confused, many of the other teams with other strategies are also AoE. They just don't exactly double in damage. With Mizuki C1 Constellation 1, that 95.1k goes up to 109k, and with Constellation 2 the DPS reaches 125.7k. In case you were wondering, and it took me quite a while to calculate, there are the results. The previous claim that Mizuki 2 is on Mabuika's level is simply another piece of misinformation that was circulating in the community. She could get closer against multiple enemies, but actually surpassing Mabuika will probably require a scenario with 4 or more enemies. But yeah, that's pretty forced. So there you have it. I think that's a lot of information for a single video. Obviously, since we are covering several different topics, I didn't go over absolutely everything in detail, but I did cover most of the information that should actually be useful to you. And that's all, everyone. Thank you for your time and support, and I will see you in the next one.